Conflict is everywhere, right? In the boardroom, on the street corner, you name it. But what if I told you the key to navigating it all comes down to one fundamental skill? Well, today we're going to break down that skill: how to read the opposition. I mean, at first glance, these things seem like they're from totally different planets, don't they? But if you look a little closer, you'll see they're all playing by the same unspoken rules. Yeah, the thing is, in all of these situations, it's not about being the strongest. It's about being the most perceptive. Winning comes down to one thing. Can you figure out what your opponent is about to do before they do it? Okay, so we're going to take a journey here. We'll start with the up close and personal stuff and zoom all the way out to the complex fights shaping our world, building this kind of universal toolkit along the way. All right, let's kick things off at the most basic level imaginable: a physical confrontation. Here, reading the signs isn't just a good idea. It could literally be the difference between walking away and being carried away. So the first thing you want to look for is something called scanning. This is when the person you're talking to isn't really looking at you. Their eyes are darting all over the place. And look, they're not just distracted. They're sizing up the situation, looking for witnesses, an exit, or maybe even their friends to back them up. Their mind isn't on talking, it's on preparing. Okay, next up, you've got the target glance. This is when their eyes lock onto a specific spot: your chin, your throat, maybe a weapon. It's not just a random look. Their brain is literally calculating the distance and the angle for an attack on that exact point. And then there's clenching. This one's a dead giveaway. You see the jaw tighten up, the fists ball up. That's the body's automatic response. Its unconscious way of getting ready for physical impact. Okay, so when you put all these little signals together, you get a really clear picture. You got the weird eye blinks, either blinking super fast from stress, or that slow, zoned-out thousand-mile stare when they're in fight or flight mode. Then you see them shift their weight, dropping one shoulder back into a fighting stance. They might even start flanking, kind of circling to your side. And here's a big one. If you ask them something and there's this weird pause, it's because their brain is too busy planning an attack to think about an answer. So these observation skills are obviously huge for physical safety. But what happens when the fight is more about strategy than fists? Well, for that, we can look to some super old school wisdom from a 17th century philosopher. This is a really cool idea from a philosopher named Baltasar Gracian. He says, what if you stopped thinking about your rivals as just obstacles? What if, instead, you saw them as your unintentional mentors, people who are actually making you better? Think about that. The whole idea is that opposition, the challenge itself, actually becomes a tool for you. It forces you to get sharper, to patch up your weaknesses. Basically, your rival is the one person who makes sure you never get lazy. And let's be honest, getting lazy is the real enemy of getting great at anything, right? So Gracian lays out this whole roadmap. It starts with just understanding what makes your rivals tick. But it goes all the way to this really fascinating idea: turning their strengths into your strengths. If they're amazing at something, you don't just get jealous, you watch them, you learn, you adapt, and you make it your own. All right, so we've gone from the street to the office. Now let's zoom out even further to the biggest arena of all: our crazy, polarized, modern society. Here, the conflict gets way more abstract, and the enemy isn't a person, it's a completely fractured landscape of information. Just look at this number: a record 143 executive orders in just the first 100 days of a presidential term. That kind of political whiplash greets total uncertainty. For companies and brands, it means you're pretty much always in crisis mode. Forget long-term planning. And this chart really breaks it down. You can see how all these political moves, especially around things like trade and social issues, create these new battlegrounds. All of a sudden, brands get dragged into fights they never saw coming, and they have to react to politics just as much as the market. And what's the result of all this? Well, it's pretty much the death of staying neutral as a brand. You see here, only about 29% of major brands manage to appeal to everyone. For the other 71%, consumers are using their money to make a statement. They'll either boycott you, or they'll do what's called boycotting, actively buying from you because you align with their views. Your customers aren't neutral anymore. They're mobilized. All of this just pours gasoline on something called truth decay. You can see it perfectly in this image. We used to have, more or less, a shared puzzle of reality. Now it's shattered. And when we can't even agree on basic facts, how are you supposed to navigate any kind of conflict? It becomes nearly impossible. Okay, so we've looked at conflict on the street, in our personal lives, and all across society. Let's pull all these threads together now into one big survival kit. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the street, the office, or the marketplace. You can see this clear progression. It all starts with pure observation, right? That's for survival. Then it moves to long-term strategy for your own growth. And finally, it takes real, principled resilience to handle the chaos of the modern world. But here's the most important part, the real takeaway from all this. These aren't three separate skills. No way. It's really just one skill that evolves. It gets bigger and more complex as the conflict does. The very same instincts that help you read someone's body language, those are the exact same instincts you need to read the entire culture. So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Getting good at this isn't just about winning arguments or fights. It's about actually understanding the world around you. From the person standing 2 feet away to the whole society we live in, the world is always sending out signals. The real question is, are you paying attention?